The 2025 NFL schedule features 272 games across 18 weeks. The AFC East schedule has a relatively easy strength of schedule, ranking these teams and these slates as some of the easier in the league. Now, based on the opponent's 2024 win percentage, the Bills are tied for 23rd on strength of schedule. Dolphins tied for 21st. The Ravens have it a little bit tougher at 9. The Patriots, they are sitting pretty going into this season. Looking at an easy slate at 30th. Let's continue our reactions from Wednesday's schedule release. We're going to tackle the AFC East with our Bryant McFadden and our Tyler Sullivan. Hello, fellas. We're going to start with Buffalo. 6 of the Bills' first 7 opponents missed last season's playoffs, and 4 of their final 5 foes did the same. So, BMAC, of the teams widely expected to challenge the Chiefs for the AFC supremacy, the Bills, it seems like their strength of schedule is putting them in a pretty good spot. Walk us through it.
Yeah, no question. Of course, that first ball game, week 1, I consider to be the week of unknowns because you're seeing a new team for the very first time. Even if they retain some of their coordinators from a year ago, it's a brand new team. But they're facing off against the Baltimore Ravens. You get the Baltimore Ravens at home. That's a major plus. Remember, in the regular season matchup a year ago, they had to travel down to Baltimore in a primetime matchup, and that was a daunting test for them that they eventually failed. But I love them in that spot. I like them to win that ball game. You look at the Jets, of course, taking care of their business. Me personally, Tyler, Jenny, when I look at the Buffalo Bills schedule in totality, I see 13 wins for sure, potential 4 losses. And the 4 losses that I have when you look at their schedule is Kansas City, Houston, Philadelphia, and New England. 2 road games being lost and 2 home games being lost. But in all, I can easily see the Buffalo Bills winning at the bare minimum 13 games.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, BMAC. I think 13 wins is dead on for the Buffalo Bills. And the thing that stands out to me with this schedule is there's really not a lot of windows for them to have potential losing streaks. You talk about there's a lot of heavy hitters on this schedule. You talked about it right out of the gate, the Baltimore Ravens. I think that they actually lose that game at home. I think Baltimore comes in with a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder in that game. But outside of that, you see, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're sandwiched in around. I think it's the Carolina Panthers and the Miami Dolphins. You have the Philadelphia Eagles late in the season. They're sandwiched around opponents that aren't particularly that scary to the Buffalo Bills. So there's a lot of cushion in between these heavyweights, and I think that's only going to help them kind of pad those stats to get to 13 wins and still be a force, be a threat to be the #1 seed in the AFC. I think they did a lot of good things this offseason, adding Maxwell Harrison in the secondary, Joey Bosa at pass rush. This was a defense that struggled last season, particularly on 3rd down. They were the 3rd worst in terms of their opponents being able to convert on 3rd down in the NFL. We've seen Josh Allen be Herculean. What was really being the hamstring to this team last year was their inability to get off the field. I think they fixed that. I think they finished 1st in the AFC East. And when that 13 wins, they rival for the 1 seed.
Yeah, of the 8 teams playing a first-team schedule in 2025, the Bills have it the easiest, and that is notable because first-place teams have done well in that situation since the NFL switched to that 17-game schedule back in 2021. Speaking of the Bills, we're going to talk about the Dolphins next. The Dolphins get the Bills in Buffalo early in the season when the weather is still good, so that's a plus. They have a tough middle stretch, though. They host the Ravens on a short week. Then they have the Bills again before a trip to Spain, facing off against the Commanders. All 3 of those opponents finished in the top 5 in scoring last season. So, BMAC, what's your overall take on the Fins schedule?
You talked about that difficult stretch in the middle of the season. I think this is going to be a difficult year for the Miami Dolphins. And the reason why I say that, just look at the personnel side of things. It's safe to say this current group of Miami Dolphins, they're not the same in terms of talent as what we watched last year with them, especially when being healthy. So I think this is a lesser talented team and a very, very difficult schedule. I see them, the Miami Dolphins guys, best case scenario for me, I'm sorry, Dolphin fans, but 8-9. I think that's a realistic record for the Miami Dolphins. When you look at some of the teams they will face off against, you look at Buffalo, of course. I think Buffalo is the cream of the crop, not just in their division, but in the entire AFC. I love Baltimore. I think New England would be a much improved team compared to what we saw last year. And then you look at other teams. You look at Atlanta. You look at Tampa. This is a very, very intriguing schedule for the Miami Dolphins. And like I said, I don't think this is more of a talented team than what we saw last year in 2024. So I see the Miami Dolphins, Tyler, 8-9 is the record for me. I think that is a realistic number when you look at the entire roster and, of course, the schedule.
Well, B-Mac, if they're not going to like your 8-9, they're not going to like my 6-11, because I don't think this Miami Dolphins team is going to be particularly good. I think it's a tough schedule. It's easy out of the gate. I think you might kind of get some fool's gold out of the chute here, where you have the Indianapolis Colts, you have the New England Patriots at home. That's typically been a house of horrors for New England, going down to Miami early in the season. But then, as you referenced, Jenny, later on in this season, it does turn into a gauntlet. You go to Atlanta, then you face Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington, all at home, but that's right before your bye. I don't think you're going to be favored in any one of those games. And then the tail end of the season, you face the Bengals, the Buccaneers. Then you go up to Foxborough to play the Patriots. We know the narratives of the Dolphins going and playing in cold weather cities. That could be a tough spot for them. So I have them going at 6-11, and this is kind of where we're going to have to look at them in the mirror. They're going to have to look at themselves in the mirror this season to say, okay, what are we? We have a high-flying offense. We have Tyreek Hill. We have Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, Tua Tagovailoa. But have we reached the ceiling at this point with this current core? Defensively, I have my questions. We don't know what's going to happen with Jalen Ramsey. Is he going to be traded? If so, that's only going to hurt your secondary as you're going up against a lot of these elite quarterbacks in the AFC. So right now, I have the Miami Dolphins at 6-11, which could rival last place in the AFC East. Right now, that's plus 230.
You mentioned how they fare on the road, especially in cold weather. Over the past 3 seasons, the Dolphins have the 4th best home record in the league, 18-7. Everyone loves coming down here to Miami and playing some football. You mentioned the Patriots as well. So if you're looking for a surprise playoff contender, one team to definitely watch, which excites me, is the New England Patriots. The Pats have the easiest strength of schedule in the AFC. And before we dive in, just a quick note here. The teams with the easiest schedule in the AFC have finished with a winning record of 7 straight seasons. That is a positive for the Patriots fans out there. Tyler, Mike Vrabel in his first year as New England's head coach, what can we expect?
Yeah, and I'll do you one better in terms of fun little knick-knack stats here for the New England Patriots. Last year, they were favored in absolutely 0 games. They were not favored in a single game. This year, they're favored in 11 games as it's currently standing, and that is quite the night and day, and that's really a testament to the overhaul that this team put together. You mentioned Mike Vrabel, now the head coach, really gives them a high floor, in my opinion. And then, of course, they go into free agency, big spenders, Milton Williams, Robert Spillane, Stephon Diggs. You go down the list, they're going to be a lot better offensively, and we already know that they had pieces defensively, Christian Gonzalez to name one in the secondary. They're only going to be better there. I think this is an 11-6 team, and a lot of it has to do with, yes, Drake May coming into year 2, Mike Vrabel